Well, today we got some more really interesting information from the content guys, and an EA dev has kind of told all a little bit on things we haven't really heard about before, such as leakers. Like, what does EA think about the leakers? We got word on icon swaps and exchanges, and just a lot of different things that we've been wondering about. A developer answered today, and it's very interesting to go and look at. So we're going to go through a bunch of what they talked about and what he talked about. Obviously, today on FC25 is Futties Team 3 Day, and we have the full team leaked for that we'll go and look at. Some SBCs too, plus a really big evolution leak, another 96 overall Evo that we will go and look at. And I wanted to show you guys this R9 quickly that I've got, because if you guys would like to buy coins, you can go to mmoxp.com. There will be a link in the description down below. They are the cheapest and the safest option. You can use my code JFC at checkout for an 8% discount. You know, this other 96 Evo he fit in, right? Just look at this card right here. It's a pretty good card, you know, but I'm actually waiting to see if he fits in this other Evo that's coming out today or tomorrow or sometime. It's kind of insane. You can chain that 99 shooting one into this 99 passing one and just make a ridiculous card, right? But okay, as always, yeah, thanks for being here. Subscribe if you are new, of course. I greatly appreciate all of you. And we will open this 95 plus pick as well at the end of this video today. But I think with content, that's kind of all I wanted to say, really. So we can just get on to the leaks and news and stuff here. So, okay, where all the information is coming from that you'll be seeing in this video is from an interview, but it's not in English. So much of this stuff is kind of just summarized as to their main point, and Weaver summarizes it well here. It's pretty much just a long thread of things they talked about, right? And there's a lot of interesting insights into kind of what they're thinking about all the time, and also just for next year's game too. So, okay, the first thing we'll talk about though is the leaker situations, right? So the interviewer asks, what do you think about the leaker situation? And is there anything you're going to do to address it? Keep in mind, once again, not exact quotes here, but this is what they said. So Dev replies, there are some positives like leakers helping amplify official news, but overall it hurts the game. Leaks can impact the market and force players to stay updated just to avoid being at a disadvantage. It also takes away some of the surprise and shared excitement around new content releases. It's definitely something we're working on reducing for next year. So that's obviously a big thing, right? An interviewer says, do you think that it can be completely eliminated? And I always assume that it probably cannot be completely eliminated. And the dev replies and says, like, it's difficult, but it's something we're actively looking into. So what the main thing there, though, is that he does say we're working on reducing them for next year. Like, they're literally going to attempt to have less leaks next year. This is the first time we've ever really heard them ever comment on the situation, because when you think about it, it's kind of insane that, you know, we have a game where there's people with millions of followers. Fut Sheriff has like 1 point something million followers, and he got that by tweeting out leaks. And it's crazy that EA really had never said anything about them, right? We can obviously infer by this point they have liked them, considering it does seem like they've leaned into them quite a bit over the last like 3 years, I would say, specifically there. But, you know, I think it would be cool to have less leaks and stuff. I think there's way more of a skill gap when it comes to market stuff when you don't know what's happening. So that's what the cool thing would be with that, is that I think like genuinely investing becomes so much more interesting now once again. But of course, what do you guys think about it? Now, next one here is Game Dev answers question about pill tools and SBCs. And Fut Economist actually was also asked about pill tools, and they know about pill tools. The interviewer asked that question. Dev says, SBCs have evolved over the years. We have not done enough to reflect those changes in our system yet. We're focusing on implementing similar ideas and making improvements throughout the next year. And Fut Economist kind of said the same thing there. Like, we need to kind of allow you to do them faster because of how they have evolved over the years. So we'll see what actually happens with that. There's a lot of tweets to get through. So if I speed through some of them, then that's kind of why I'm trying to get them or through them at a somewhat quick pace. But next up, Game Dev answers question about icon SBCs. Interviewer, the same icon SBC appears each time near the end of TOTS. Why is it no longer nation-based like in previous years? This one, like, how many of us were really clamoring for, like, we used to have just Spain, Brazil, France icon SBCs or something like that, right? I think that's what he's talking about here. And the dev says, we're working on making it more engaging, and we might incorporate elements like the nation-based icon SBCs again in the future. It's like, okay, whatever. I didn't really personally care about the nation-based icon SBCs, but okay, next up, a question about icon swaps. So interviewer says, are icon swaps coming back? Dev, short answer, not like they used to be, but we're introducing chained events that offer a similar progression-based experience. So what does that mean? I mean, that seems like a little bit of marketing mumbo jumbo there, but I think what is probably going to happen here is I think they're adding some things in that have a sort of like token system-esque progression experience kind of thing, but it's not going to be icon swaps in the same way we ever used to have. And I understand it to a certain extent not doing that, because right now the season ladder, we basically have icon swaps, but like throughout the whole cycle. It really is like the season ladder system. Obviously now that it's paid, this throws a wrench in this, but say before it was paid, right? It kind of was a just better icon swaps. It was all the time. The only issue obviously was that when you finish the season, there's not really anything to do. So there was that aspect of it, but really I think that I miss icon swaps as well, but I understand them not doing it when they just think to themselves, like they kind of have a swap system right now and just earning XP, right? So I understand them not wanting to do that, even though I would like them back. Next up, co-op weekend league. So interviewer, are there any plans for co-op weekend league? Dev says, we've heard the feedback and understand the demand for co-op weekend league. It is something we're working on, but it's not planned for FC26. So interesting there. I think, yeah, if it was going to be a thing, we probably would have heard about it already. So interesting though that they do say it is something that we are working on, because he says that clearly there is demand for it. So that's kind of cool. Here's an interesting one too. So game dev answers question about pack probabilities. Interviewer, is there any rework plan for how probability works in reward packs? Dev says there's nothing planned at the moment specifically for pack probabilities, but we are working on a more balanced structure with guaranteed rewards like evolutions, which should help reduce the impact of randomness. So they're never going to answer a question where it's like, yeah, hey, make pack weight better, or why is pack weight this way, not that way? Like they're not going to answer that kind of question, but it's interesting that they say here they're trying to make more evos maybe in rewards, so that way you do have something guaranteed. That's kind of interesting. Like for example, like playstyle evos, right? I feel like they're super not overpowered and they just help a lot with creating the cards that you like and cards that you want. So I think that's kind of a cool way they can maybe do that. But yeah, talking about like pack probabilities, like something they will never discuss, I'm sure. Next up here, questions about evolutions and the power curve. So are evolutions affected by the power curve nerf? He says yes, evos will now produce top tier players less frequently. They'll still reach the higher end of the power curve at times, but it will happen less often and be more balanced with the rest of the content. What do you guys think about this one? Because you would kind of assume then he's insinuating that evos are oftentimes like making the power curve go quicker, or they do produce top tier players frequently. Like, what do you guys think about that? Is that true? Is that not the case like he's maybe saying here? I mean, I don't mind it being less if it's all balanced, right? But that's the problem, is that we'll see how it is balanced, because obviously that could create a big pay to win aspect if cards coming in promos are crazy, and then we've got SBCs, evos being not so good stats wise. But you would hope they can figure out a balance. We've seen a better balance than we've had before in many previous years. So once again, I try not to give a negative take about like all the news that we see, but yes, somehow I'm still voice cracking. Game dev answers questions about squad building. So are there any changes to squad building? Yes, we're being more generous with role familiarity at the start of the game. We heard about that already. We also plan to introduce more roles through promos to give players greater flexibility throughout the year. Additionally, the gap between roles are less significant, so we already knew kind of all that information there. But if you have not heard about that, roles, I guess, are going to be much easier next year, which they should just be out of the game as is, but not going to happen. Next up, exchange SBCs. So interviewer, are exchange SBCs coming earlier next year, similar to how they were around Team of the Year last year? This year, obviously, it took them until, what was it, a few weeks ago, right? Or it was like a month ago, maybe? Yeah, it was like 3 and some weeks ago, right? And if you guys remember, FC24, it was in Team of the Year time. So Dev says kind of what I thought was the thing here. Duplicate storage is our alternative to exchange SBCs, and duplicate storage will be available in FC26 again. So that's kind of what we always thought was the case. That's why exchanges didn't come out. He says here, though, we noticed that the supply of fodder was too high and the content wasn't compelling enough to keep players engaged. By lowering the power curve, we hope to reduce the need for exchange SBCs or dupe storage, but if necessary, exchange SBCs could still return. So anyway, though, the biggest sentence here was that they noticed that the content just wasn't compelling enough to keep players engaged, and then they added it like that. So the plan this year was to not even have them at all, which I think that was kind of what we figured. But this is the thing, is that people say like they plan out content months ahead of time and they don't change off that. Like they do change some things based off of the info they get at a shorter term basis, right? They do that. Most of the stuff I would say for sure is planned out a long time in advance, but there is stuff that they will see and go, okay, we got to change something here. Content was not compelling enough. They add exchange SBCs. So this is one of those things here where I think sometimes people give EA a bit of a cop out. Like, you know, we see content through a certain lens of they release new things every day. EA's had it planned out for months, right? So there's certain changes that they just won't make, but it's like, no, they can do things based off of short-term information. And that's what they did here. And also we learned that exchange SBCs were basically basically substituted by duplicate storage, and it'll be the case again next year, which we kind of assumed, right? Next up, red picks. So are red picks for FUT champions coming back, says the interviewer. Dev says no. We've seen great success with campaign players and packs, which have essentially replaced what red picks used to offer. So I think the guaranteed campaign picks still being here during team of the season and stuff like that, as long as those are still there, I don't think we need the red picks. I think the 1 of 5 85 plus player pick is we'd probably all take a 1 of 5 85 plus player pick instead of a 1 of 5 team of the week player pick where we know what we're going to get, right? An 84 team of the week that you're not going to use, right? Or 86 team of the week that you're never going to use. It'll just be fodder. Interesting one here too. Will advanced SBCs be tradable or untradeable? He says, we're not sure yet, but these SBCs are considered foundation SBCs and are meant to serve as tutorial style challenges. One of the issues is that they can be very intimidating for new players as an introduction to SBCs, so we're likely looking at a significant rework of how they function. The final tuning has not been confirmed yet, but the requirements will definitely be much easier. So I think one of the things that we are, noticing is like a theme here that we've seen a couple of the devs talk about is that it seems like for new players, SBCs is very overwhelming and they want to try and make it simpler, right? Simpler to do, kind of faster to get through them, apparently. That's kind of what they want to do, which I think does make sense. I've had like people that I know that are casuals getting into Ultimate Team that see SBCs and like navigating through the club and stuff like that is kind of complicated. So I'm not too surprised they're trying to rework some of that. I'm curious to know what that's going to do, because do they mean like a bigger overall SBC change in general, right? Like just making a lot of SBCs easier, or what do they really mean by that? A huge one here is collection book, right? Everyone wants a collection book. I don't know why it's not in the game. That to me is one of the weirdest decisions from EA for the last about 8-9 years. The dev does say though it's something we're considering for the future, but it's not planned for FC 26. I don't know why it doesn't exist. Next up, we got market filter questions. So will there be an easier way to search for second team of the week versions or cards with multiple items at the same rarity next year? Dev says it's not planned for the start of the year, but it's something we might introduce later on, so not really much information there. But yeah, always would be nice to have more market filters. Next up is a question about moments. So, one of the most ridiculous additions in recent years has been moments. They just don't give a shit about it. They didn't even try to make it good. Interviewer, are there any changes to the moments game mode? Dev, we see moments as more of a tutorial space for new players. Experienced players can use creative squads in other modes like tournaments, gauntlet, and live events. In other words, literally 0 changes. There's gonna be no changes, and I don't know why it's even in the game. Just remove it at this point. Just remove it. But the gauntlet mode is one we're hearing a lot about, and we'll hear more about that just later in this video. Interviewer, is an open world coming to FC 26? Dev, there are no plans for that at the moment, and we obviously know that by now, but what's interesting is he didn't like elaborate at all on this, so you might think, oh, it's kind of interesting, but they can't talk about that. If they know they're gonna make it next year, like they're developing it right now, they're not gonna say they are, right? So not really much to take out of that one. And same with this World Cup license next year. Like our relationship with FIFA and the World Cup license is currently unconfirmed, and I think the leaks right now are that they're really trying to. Some are saying that it's now is going to be in the game next year, but that's not from like a tier 1 source or anything. But the thing is that it's going to be very strange trying to work this license agreement because we know what happened with EA and FIFA. There's probably a less likelihood of this happening than people think. I feel like that we don't get the World Cup in 26. Like there's a genuine chance that they don't have the license for it. And the last questions are ones that we kind of have already seen answers for. So like Challengers Weekend League, a second tier of Weekend League, apparently it says that it could feature fewer matches, like around 5 to 10. So that's kind of new information there, but most of this we'd already seen already. And here's one about the gauntlet mode. So this is a very interesting one. So you have to use your own squad, play 2 to 5 games. Each game needs a new squad and no player can be used twice. So that's a really cool way to make you have to spice your team up, right? And then strong rewards as well. Goals have more variety in the game and allow players to maintain multiple squads throughout the year. This has been something that we've needed for a long time, I feel like. I know this kind of does push us in a more pay to win aspect, because the guys who can spend a lot of money on the game are going to have so many players that will be able to be used like and replaced easy. So if you have Pele, R9, Dino, etc., right, all those guys, and you can't fit them all on your team, you can say that with any mode that there's pay to win elements, right? But I really like this idea. I really like the idea of having to change up your squad. I think is a really cool idea, and it really does help a lot with just making cards more interesting. Any card you pack more interesting, any card you acquire more interesting when you can have more uses for them, obviously. And the last one we'll look at here is menu lag questions. So what about the issues of laggy servers? So I think what he meant to say is laggy menus. Dev says, not directly my area, but we are working on reducing friction in the menus and improving overall loading times to make the experience smoother. Okay, I mean, we'll see. But yeah, the menus are really bad on console. Like, I don't notice it because I'm on PC and I have 120 frames, but on console, guys, you guys are in hell. I mean, it's bad. And guys, it appears more and more like the Brazilian League license stuff has kind of fallen through, it looks like. The rumor initially was that it's going to be in the game. Then all of a sudden it became it might be later into the cycle because the agreement was not as finalized as some people thought it was. And then now we have it confirmed by a developer that it's not going to be in the game next year. That obviously still could mean it could come in at a later point. But at a certain point, why not just save it for like FC27 if you're, you know, trying to get it? Working with individual Brazilian clubs right now, like at some point you might as well just try and wait, because the sources that we saw, the good ones, always said it's highly likely that it's going to be in the game next year. Unfortunately, it's not. But guess who said it was confirmed to be in the game, guys? You'll never guess. Fraud Zone himself. And agreements in place on June 29th, 2025. This tweet will not be up for long, okay? I promise you this tweet, the second he wakes up and sees that this tweet exists, I promise you it will not be up at a certain point. Another day, another Fraud Zone miss. Now on to Futties Team 3. We have all the cards here that will be in the team. We got Rafinha, Cruyff, Ronaldo we've seen already. Trinity Rodman's in the team. We got Musiala, Gervinho, Garrincha. And you guys will see we have all three of the Roma trio coming in, but two of them are SBCs actually. Doumbia and Ibarbo. We'll see those stats in a sec here. Carlos Alberto with 5 playstyle pluses, Violi, Scholes, Lampard, Kvaratskhelia, Forlan, Dudek. A lot of really popular cards in this promo, actually, which is pretty cool to see. But yeah, let's try and zoom out slightly so you can see the whole team here. There we go. But yeah, sorry, you can't see Buongiorno. I apologize. He is right here. You can't see him, but he is here. And if you want to look more at it, you can pause the video. But SBCs, we can take a look at next. And here they are. So we already saw Franck Ribéry a few days ago, but Zambrotta as well is in there with, unfortunately, Slide Tackle Plus and Rapid Plus as 2 of his playstyles. And Press Proven. He's got really like 1 elite playstyle plus there, but okay. There's Seydou Doumbia with First Touch, Trivella. No 5 playstyle pluses, unfortunately, on him. No, we got Ibarbo with Trivella and Power Shot, so okay. That's not necessarily ideal there either, but Benzema and Pedri we saw already. Then Lothar Matthäus here as a cool SBC, because Matthäus always is just aura in game. This guy's got some kind of aura. He's always great in FIFA. Anticipate, Incisive, Power Shot, and Intercept on Matthäus, with some great stats on him there, of course. But with SBCs, it just feels like they have to kind of make the cards somewhat worse than they need to be. Like Doumbia, you give him this. Zambrotta, you give him those. Ibarbo, you give him those playstyle pluses. Benzema actually has 4 elite ones, and so does Pedri. So, you know, maybe my point is moot, but it does feel like with SBCs recently, they just have to like make them just a little bit worse than they could be. Just because I don't really know. And also, unfortunately, the Liga MX license might be in jeopardy as well. That one was like confirmed months ago by a lot of different sources, tier 1 guys, and now apparently they're saying that Liga MX might not even be in the game next year. So there's been some licensing fall throughs here, unfortunately, over the last like month, maybe, I would guess. And if you guys don't know, by the way, this Showdown SBC, the winner will get a 5th playstyle plus. So I do want to say that because this Vicky Lopez card could end up like crazy if you complete her. I guess Beaver Jones could too if they give like 5th playstyle plus as something crazy. But okay, another bit of FC26 news here is that evolution slots in next year's game, whoever pre-orders the game with Ultimate Edition will start with 1 more, right? You have 2 and standard players just have 1, right? When they increase them next year, which they said they probably will, you will stay 1 up. So for the whole year, you'll have 1 more evolution active Evo than everybody else will. So they'll have 3 if they go to 2 next year, which they said they probably will. So you'll have 3 active Evos at once next year if you have the Ultimate Edition as well. Wanted to say that as that was announced today as well. And last bit of news, here's a 96 striker evolution leak. Power Shot Plus, Quick Step Plus, Finesse Plus, Stats Boost. And it seemed like mostly everyone fits in this Evo. Like this guy fits in right here. So if this guy fits, then I don't know how you don't fit. It's probably going to be once again just a playstyle max 10 requirement is my guess there, but that's pretty cool. Okay, let's read some of your comments and we'll open our player picks. So Steven says the next SBC I'm completing needs 5 playstyle pluses. That's the problem right now, is that I think this goes back to the power curve issue of this year and what it was, right? That they've kind of been in backtrack mode for the last 3-4 months. And right now, all SBCs being dropped feel like have 4 playstyle pluses, and the ones with 5 all have 1 or 2 that aren't the best. And then we have a Kaká card we got, what, a month ago? And that's like still has 5 playstyle pluses. So just weird decisions like that. Next up is John Stickleback. I think they added the stamina change to make players you control feel even more responsive at all times. It falls in line with other changes they made, I suppose. That does make sense. 'Cause maybe when you think about the back end of the code, maybe the stamina was actually like a big problem when they tried to decrease attributes over a certain point and players felt more sluggish. Maybe that was a big reason as to why the sluggishness was there. Of course, I still think we'll probably feel it next year. I think there's still going to be delay and stuff like that. I think it's going to be more responsive, but I think there's going to be still people mad all the time about delay. And 876 Nerd Geek, you said exactly what they did this year because the first quarter of this game was so bad they made Team of the Year the best they've had with how packable Team of the Years were the last 3 to 4 days with the 82 by 20. This is a thing that I know it's not like it was really hard to see this, but this was very, very clear at the time that they did not really think through the 82 by 20 and repeatable 82 by 20 during Team of the Year. That was 100% a band-aid on what was really they were in a bad spot, right? They were definitely in a bad spot. That was prior to the gameplay update. And so we called that, right? All the stuff really that they've been saying that we hypothesized at the time turned out to kind of be true. And like I said, it didn't take a genius, but it's nice to see that we were kind of on the right track with what we thought EA were doing. And I think that the 82 by 20 was a very interesting band-aid and something that we'll probably remember for a while as to like what happened there. Okay, here's the pick. I just hope to see a road to the final winner, like just to see one. Let's see what it feels like again to see one of those cards. First one is going to be McCabe, who technically speaking is one of those cards, but not really. That does not count. Second one is going to be Erps. Cheers. Not off to a hot start. Third one is going to be Ayoze Perez. Yeah, this is not looking great, boys. This is looking real bad. Mamardashvili is actually one of the better center backs in the game, but not really who we're looking for here. And last one's going to be Boggle. I don't know. It's definitely Bogle. I don't know why the hell I said Boggle, but okay, whatever. I mean, I expected nothing. And thank you all for being here watching. I wish you all so much. Love you all. Peace.